Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a little different, not looking at big global trends, but really zooming in.
Way in. We're talking about just 7 words from an ancient proverb.
Yeah, 7 words that honestly feel like a kind of blueprint for, well, for procrastination, failure, maybe even scarcity itself.
It really is. It's
Yep.
like an anatomical chart of how excuses lead to bad outcomes. The proverb is, "The sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold. Therefore shall he beg in harvest and have nothing."
And we're going word by word through the original language here. This isn't just, a simple moral lesson.
No, it's structured almost like an equation. We want to unpack how the ancients saw this chain reaction from a tiny, maybe even understandable excuse, all the way to total loss.
Exactly. Our mission today is to see what this ancient formula can tell you about choices, maybe choices you're making right now. Okay, so let's start where the proverb starts with the excuse itself. By reason of the cold. What's the original word there?
It's a single term, me-ḥoref, and literally it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
From winter or because of the winter.
Right. So on the face of it, just states a fact, it's cold.
Yeah, simple cause.
Yeah?
It's cold, so he doesn't plow. Seems reasonable enough.
But hang on, sometimes it is too cold, right? Frozen ground, snow. You genuinely can't plow. Is the proverb being a bit unfair here, calling it an excuse straight off?
That's the brilliant part, actually. The language gives it away. If it was about impossibility, the phrasing would likely be different. What's fascinating is how the meaning of oref, winter or cold, develops.
Okay.
It starts as the objective thing, the season, the temperature,
Right.
a fact.
Right.
But then it starts to carry connotations of harshness or difficulty. And in this specific context, it really lands as a convenient reason to duck out of doing the necessary work.
So the text acknowledges the cold exists.
Exactly. It names the objective fact. But
Yeah.
by framing it this way, it subtly reviews it as the subjective reason he chooses not to act. The cold itself isn't the absolute barrier.
It's the justification he uses.
Precisely. He elevates this external fact into his internal reason to stop. It's the excuse.
Wow. Okay, so the pretext might be objectively true, but its role here is just to enable the failure. That's quite subtle.
And that leads us straight to the person involved,
Hmm.
ḥatsel. The sluggard. We need to be clear about who this figure represents in this equation.
Yeah, sluggard or lazy can sound quite broad, maybe just someone who likes sleeping in. But I get the feeling the original term is more pointed than that.
It definitely is. The root meaning might suggest slow or maybe dull, but in this kind of wisdom text, it's really honed in. This ḥatsel is someone marked by habitual delay, chronic procrastination, basically.
So it's less about being idle in general and more about timing,
Right.
about consistently missing the right moment to act.
That's a great way to put it. He's defined by missing the opportune time. He's slow, not necessarily physically, but slow to seize the moment when work needs to be done. These wisdom texts often use characters like this as contrast, Set up the sluggard against the diligent person who gets the timing right, understands the seasons.
So the core idea is that preparation like plowing has a specific window.
The critical window, yeah. And the ḥatsel is the one who lets the cold or the perceived difficulty or just general distraction fill up that window until, poof, the chance is gone.
That feels very familiar. I think we can all relate to that moment when you look at a big task, the project you should start now. But the cold, maybe the effort involved, or it seems complicated, or you just don't feel like it right now, it feels like too much, and you put it off.
And that putting off is the essence of the ḥatsel.
Okay, so we have the pretext, the cold, and the character, the sluggard. Now the action, or really the inaction, what seals the deal?
It's a tiny word, grammatically simple, but philosophically huge here. It's the negation particle, low.
Yeah.
Just not. But look where it comes. Because of the me-ḥoref, the excuse he's adopted, he does not perform the action. The structure is key.
How so?
It frames the whole thing as a choice. It's a failure of will, not a lack of opportunity or ability. It's decisive. He cancels the action.
Right. If he, say, broke his leg and couldn't plow, the text might evoke sympathy. Misfortune.
Exactly. But here, the inaction low follows directly from the self-serving pretext. So the text puts the responsibility squarely on his decision-making. The failure isn't external, it's internal.
It's about volition, then, not capability.
Absolutely. The assumption is that others are plowing, maybe it's tough, they're doing it. He could, but he chooses low. He chooses no. This no is the pivot point.
The point where that choice starts to shape his future, and the action he says no to is yasho, to plow. Why is plowing the specific focus?
Well, the imagery itself is quite potent. The root of yosho has this idea of cutting or engraving, like making a mark, structuring the earth, which naturally leads to the agricultural meaning, preparing the soil. But it's more than just digging dirt.
Right, you said it's about preparation. Why not just say, he won't work?
Because plowing here really stands for that essential foundational work. It's the preparatory labor needed before anything productive can happen. It's often the hard part, the unglamorous part, maybe the uncomfortable part.
The part you do when it's still cold.
Exactly. It's the groundwork that makes the later reward, the harvest, even possible.
So by choosing lo yetrit, by canceling the plowing, he's not just slacking off, he's actually breaking the whole causal chain of production.
He's eliminated the prerequisite. He hasn't just reduced his potential harvest, he's ensured there won't be one for him.
Okay, the chain is broken. Cause and effect, no preparation means. What's the direct result shown next?
The result is hershal. It means, and he will ask, or he will beg.
Oof. That's the first really harsh consequence.
It is. Now, the verb shall itself can be neutral. To ask a question, to inquire. If I ask you the time, that's shall.
But the context here changes everything.
Completely. When you're asking because you need the basics, food, help, survival, it shifts meaning. It becomes to request necessities from others.
Which leads straight to
dependence. He surrendered his self-sufficiency. He avoided the discomfort of plowing in the cold, and now he faces the, frankly, humiliation of needing to rely on others.
Others who presumably did plow.
Precisely. The very people who endured the cold he used as an excuse. It's a stark lesson. Refusing necessary preparation leads directly to losing independence.
A kind of ancient economic principle baked in. And when does this begging happen? The timing seems important too.
Critically important. It happens bakar at the harvest.
Ah, the harvest time. Kar. That wasn't just about grain, was it? It was a big deal culturally.
Huge. It was the combination, the payoff, the time of outcome, the time of recompense. It was often festive, a time of community celebration, abundance, gratitude. Provision had arrived.
Okay, so putting the sluggard there, begging at the harvest.
It maximizes the impact, the shame, the loss. It creates the most brutal contrast possible.
He's surrounded by the plenty he opted out of creating.
Exactly. His poverty isn't just poverty. It's poverty highlighted against the backdrop of everyone else's success and joy. He's literally begging at the harvest festival he failed to earn a ticket for months ago.
Because he canceled his own entry with that low.
Which brings us to the final word, the absolute end of the equation.
Wain.
Wain. What does that translate to?
And there is nothing.
Wow. Not he has little or he gets a poor share, just nothing.
Nothing. Total zero. And this is the philosophical core, I think. Wain isn't just saying he's poor. It uses what's called an existential negator. It signifies non-existence.
Non-existence, as in?
As in no supply exists for him, he has no share at all, total privation.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit because that distinction feels really important for anyone listening. Why is non-existence so different from just getting a small amount? Well, think about it. If you plow, even if you do it poorly, or the weather's bad later on, you might still get something. A small yield. That's scarcity, that's hardship. You participated, you tried, external factors maybe limited you.
Right, you get a low result.
But why in non-existence implies the zero outcome was locked in the moment he chose lo to yashu, the moment he refused to plow.
Ah. So if he'd done a bad job of plowing, maybe the verdict is different. But because he skipped the essential first step entirely.
The mathematical result is absolute zero. The possibility of a harvest for him was canceled from the start. The project never launched. The opportunity wasn't just missed. It ceased to exist for him.
So the proverb isn't just warning about poor results. It's warning about no results.
Exactly. It stresses the complete, utter inevitability of that zero when the foundational work is skipped. The equation is perfect in a grim way. Subjective pretext, cold, leads to decisive inaction, no plowing, which mathematically guarantees absolute nothingness, wain, right when everyone else is reaping their rewards.
That completely reframes procrastination, doesn't it? It's not just putting something off.
It's potentially authoring an outcome of complete non-existence down the line. Hashtag tag tag outro.
What an incredibly dense psychological equation packed into just those 7 words. It's amazing.
It really is.
We've broken it down and seen this ancient idea of laziness, the ӓtsel, isn't just about being idle. It's about failing to act at the right time.
Yeah, and crucially, using these small, maybe even real, external facts, the cold, as the internal justification for avoiding the necessary, often uncomfortable groundwork.
The plowing.
The plowing. The proverb lays it out like clockwork. Pretext fuels the failure of will, which locks in total privation when the time for reward comes around.
The language forces you, the listener, to think about the consequences of your choices. Maybe not just leading to less, but potentially to nothing.
Which leads to that question, doesn't it? What cold, what difficulty, complexity, or just lack of motivation are you possibly letting become your me-ḥoref, your overriding excuse today?
What essential plowing might you be canceling right now with a subtle internal low?
And remember that final word, why in? That crucial distinction. The text wasn't primarily warning about getting a smaller slice of the pie. It was warning about having no slice at all. Non-existence.
So the final thought for you to consider is this. If the real risk of skipping the preparatory work isn't just ending up with less, but ending up with absolutely nothing.
Zero result.
What essential task in your life, maybe one you've been putting off because of the cold, suddenly feels too urgent to delay any longer?
Something to think about as you figure out what furrows you need to cut today.